by me.
Yeah, that might do it.
Okay, here we are. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Talking Podcast with Nick Windle. A place to say stuff, but most importantly, talk about things. Today I'm joined by Bill Windle. He is my uncle. He works for DTE as a data analysis person who does data analysis.
Yeah.
There you are.
Here I am. Thanks for having me on. The official title is business analyst, and data analysis is what I do.
You're a senior now, right? A senior
Yeah.
citizen data analysis person.
Yeah. My technical title would be senior business and planning analyst. So that's a whole bunch of words for what I do.
And what does your average day look like as a business analysis, data analysis kind of guy?
Well, a lot of what I do is, data analysis kind of sums it up. I really kind of look at a bunch of reports, and I create reports. I analyze trends. Throughout the course of the year, there's a lot of different things going on. During the summer, we're doing a bunch of construction. During the winter, we're trying to implement a bunch of new projects, but people are always looking to find ways to be better, and so that's kind of where I come into play. There may be something that they notice that people are not doing correctly when they're working out in the field, and so my job then is to figure out how to turn that into a report and something that you can fix. And so there's a bunch of cool tools that you can kind of use to make things, make information friendly for people that aren't necessarily like computer people and things like that. So a lot of my time is kind of fielding questions and answers like that. And then I do the project implementations that I was talking about. A lot of what I do is I kind of sit on a lot of the meetings for things before they actually roll out. So there's a lot of computer software and things like that the guys that are actually, digging holes out in the field use. And so I'm a big part of the front end of that. So before they're actually using it, I'm working on it like a year to 2 years out, just to try and troubleshoot a lot of that stuff and make sure that it's user friendly for them. Because again, what they're good at is the field work, and they know what they're doing out there, and the computer stuff is, not for all of them. So we just try and make it as easy as possible. And then I spend a good chunk of my day helping them kind of do their day-to-day through the computer piece as well.
Okay. That's some good stuff you got going on there. Yeah. We were talking about it before we started recording, that your path into this business was kind of, you didn't go to school thinking that you'd end up doing this. You were a business major, right? With a entrepreneurship at Michigan State.
Yep, you got it. And
now you're going for a master's in what at CMU?
Yeah, so I'm about 2/3 of the way through my MBA program with the concentration in business data analytics.
Okay, and they were the ones that kind of guide you that direction, right?
DTE.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started my MBA program almost 4 years ago, I want to say. And then obviously a lot of life happened, got married, and we had Will, our son. And so I took, probably the better part of 2 years off. I was taking a class here, class there, but I started it when I was working at Target. And, they had a nice education reimbursement program. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll take advantage of that and figure something out. So I actually started my MBA with the concentration in marketing, because I thought that would be kind of just the most useful thing. But then I got into this role that I'm in right now, and they actually opened up this brand new specialization for business data analytics. I was like, well, that's probably meant to be if that's what I'm doing right now. So I switched concentrations. And yeah, like I said, about 2/3 of the way through, and I'm still working through like a reimbursement program. So it's at a nice pace, and they're paying for it. So it's a great deal.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, I like to over introduce my guests. So Bill is my uncle. We basically, a lot of my life was spent around him. We basically were in the same households for a good majority of my childhood and teen years. So you talked about Target. You started, you moved in with me, right? That's when you moved to hometown, and that's when you started Target right out of, was that right out of college?
Yeah. Yeah. So I graduated in 2011, in May of 2011. And for a little bit there, I didn't really kind of know where I was going. I was living up here in Traverse City, and kind of just trying to figure it out. And I had an interview with Target down in Chicago, and I knew I kind of wanted to get back to Chicago. And then I started with Target as basically like an assistant store manager. I don't even know what they call them now, but I was like an assistant store manager. And yeah, I was originally based in like Northwest Indiana, in a store in Northwest Indiana, and I moved in back in with you and your mom in hometown for a little bit before kind of bouncing around from apartment to apartment in Indiana, and then moving into Chicago. And I worked at three stores down there. I was kind of moving around every year and a half or so, which is what they like to do at the time. And so that was pretty cool. And, and that was really, it was a great job for my early 20s, and I learned a bunch. And then the opportunity came up. Obviously I had spent a bunch of time up in Traverse City with my parents, your grandparents up here on vacations.
That we know.
Yeah, those folks that we know. And so spent a bunch of time up here on vacations, and they were already living up here since 2009. And there was a position available at the store up here, which is kind of crazy to believe because there's only 3 of those positions available in one store here. So I was like, maybe that's meant to be. And kind of took a flyer on that and came up here, and that was 2015, and here we are. So a lot of change since.
Yeah. I know you talked about, I remember you doing early wake ups and late nights for Target. Any thoughts on like Black Friday and how working those holidays affect you compared to now, where you don't have to work those holidays like that?
Yeah. So just for reference, for like the middle part of my Target tenure down in Chicago, I was the logistics manager. So I was basically in charge of, the trucks coming in with all the product, and the team that was stocking all the shelves and everything. And at the time, they liked to do it before the store was opening. So I was usually getting to work around 3:30 a.m. And I was living on the north side of Chicago and working on the south side of Chicago. So I was leaving at like 2:30 a.m., driving down Lakeshore Drive, which is awesome. And then, so I was working like 3:30 to 2-3 in the afternoon. So it was a lot of hours, and it was pretty demanding. But I think kind of going back to being in my early 20s, and I was still, trying to figure stuff out. And I didn't have, I didn't have obviously a wife and a kid like I do now. So it was a little bit easier to spend more time at work. And especially around the holidays. That work in the holidays sucked. And I did that, for a long time, at least for 7-8 years. And that was not enjoyable. Working Black Friday, it had its moments of fun. Like, it's kind of cool to be out there, and, people are excited. Like, I was in charge of the crowd control. And so we had a megaphone, and we were having fun with people. They were excited to go shopping. And those are some of my, like, when I look back, some of my most fun stories about working in retail.
Mm-hmm.
But it still sucks. You're working on Thanksgiving, usually going in like 4 or 5 on Thanksgiving night. And, there were multiple times where we would be having Thanksgiving dinner, and it's like, okay, I got to go.
Yeah.
Sorry
to cut you off.
No.
Like, the one year when I was working at Sears, I
Mm-hmm.
called their overnight shift because I knew I wanted to have Thanksgiving on Black Friday, so I didn't work Thanksgiving Day or Black Friday during the day. I worked that night, so that shift counted. It was like from 8. It was like a 10-hour shift, so it was from 8 at night till like 6 in the morning. And the fun thing about that is that Sears didn't advertise that at all. Um, so it was basically me hanging out with people that just randomly thought to walk into Sears at 3 a.m. by chance.
Nothing better to do.
Yeah, and that was a fun. That was like my only real Black Friday experience was that overnight. But that just being it's weird. The whole you look out into the whole mall and everything's closed and
Yeah.
it's just you and like five other people.
No, it's such a weird thing because my first year when I started, which was 2011, and I think we opened up at like 6 a.m. on the day after Thanksgiving. And it's like, okay, 6 a.m. is not unreasonable, I don't think. It's like, normally the store would open at 8, so you're opening up a couple hours early, and then we got there a couple hours earlier than that for, people in line and stuff like that. So it's like that's doable. But then it got to the point where you were opening up at like 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving. And it's like, what are you really trying to accomplish by this? Because 9 times out of 10, you have a volume of things for these Black Friday deals that you're going to sell, and you're going to sell them. So it's like the extra hours don't really do anything for you, especially between like, kind of like to your point, even at Target, who did advertise a ton, between midnight and like 5 a.m. There's just nobody in the store. So it's like, what are we doing?
Well, that's like the thing that when I noticed that stuff happening is I realized that when I saw you working,
Uh,
I noticed like those couple of years you would leave Thanksgiving earlier or
mhm.
like earlier and earlier where like points where you could like when you first started you could come in late on Thanksgiving for dinner but you would still
Yeah.
be able to eat the whole meal and like hang out
Hmm.
and then you just like it kind of became the opposite where you're like okay I can make turkey bowl or
Yeah.
whatever and I can hang out for a little bit but then I have to go like I have to go
Yeah.
sleep or something or I have to go get ready.
Yeah. It got to be, I mean, that's when you think about the reasons, and the people that do it, uh, you know, tons of appreciation for the people that do it every year. And I mean, you can make a great career out of retail, as we've seen in our own family. You can make a really good career out of retail. But the drawback is the holidays, that's when people want to shop. So that's when the stores are open. But it's just a ton of appreciation for the people that do work that. And I think a lot of companies right now, like I know Target is staying closed on Thanksgiving now completely. I don't know what time they're opening on Friday, so I don't know that makes that big of a difference. But at least I think the trend is heading in a better direction, because I mean it makes people not want to work for you. And I really don't understand the appeal of shopping on Thanksgiving night either, but whatever.
That like I think after this whole COVID thing, a lot of people are appreciating just being with their families now.
Yeah.
Just because, especially having not having a big Christmas or like a lot of people, they don't see their families or they can't see their families, or if they do, it's not the same. It's outside or it's
Yeah.
everyone's awkward.
Yeah, I think especially this year, everyone's just looking forward to like normal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can even feel it. Like we just went out to dinner tonight and we went to a movie last week. Like we got our vaccines a month and a half or so ago, and it's like it just feels so good to do normal things a little bit, even if it's different. But
Yeah.
everyone just wants normal, and that's hopefully we get a taste of it this year, especially with the holidays and all that stuff, and people get to spend time with their families.
Did you do the shot?
Yeah, I'm a Pfizer guy, so I think I was done February 11th or something like that. I got my second one. So
Yeah, Kaylee got her second shot, so she's a transporter for
oh,
the
okay, yeah.
hospital up here.
Hmm.
So she was allowed to get it earlier because she's working in healthcare, and then I am, as of right now, hesitant to proceed any vaccines until like couple because my boss back home, I'm not going to say his name, but I don't know I don't know if it's directly from the shot. I don't want to spread rumors or anything, but he got cerebral palsy from, I believe, taking the shot because he just
Oh
got it.
no, no,
What?
no. That's
What?
no.
What? Is that wrong?
Yeah,
He got
that's
he
not
got
right.
he got his face was was messed up right after he took the shot.
I mean, the studies that have been done on this stuff, and now, you know, we're at over 100 million people vaccinated.
Yeah.
And I don't know everything to be factual, and I'm not
I don't,
obviously a healthcare professional, but I find it very difficult to believe that that's the cause of that.
he didn't say what it was, but that's where my head went. Like I said, I'm not, you know, I don't name names, and I don't claim to know anything that I know or don't know.
That's
So
good.
I just want to get the, you know, I just want to set that straight that anything I'm saying on here is speculation.
Disclaimer.
Is disclaimer. There it is. Put a warning sign in front of the
Yeah.
screen.
No healthcare officials on this on this Zoom.
Zero healthcare officials. So we brought up Will.
Yeah.
Brought him up for a second. Now, baby number dose.
Yep.
Boy, right?
Yep. Little baby boy.
We got names in the air yet or no?
Yeah, his name is gonna be Henry James.
There you go.
Windle, of course.
Henry James Windle. Henry James. His last name is James.
Yeah. We're going a different route.
Henry LeBron James.
Yeah. Thought it had a nice ring to it.
HJW.
Yep.
Where'd that come from?
It's a name that, well, after Sam's taste in names is a bit more modern, I guess, than mine.
Like
but,
Olive?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, like a bunch of numbers and stuff.
Just XYZ.
Yeah, Greek letters, something like Elon Musk would do.
Yeah.
But no, you know, whatever you want to call a non-traditional name. But and then obviously we had Will, and we both, you know, agreed on that name. And so then we kind of went down the route of like, okay, well, I guess we're going with traditional names. And so she really liked the name Henry. Ever since Will was born, I think Henry was in contention to be Will's name. And so once we found out we were having a boy, it's like, well, I guess he's Henry.
So what nicknames are we working here? HJ or?
I'm going Hank.
Hank?
Yeah. I like Hank.
Hank Windle?
Yeah, I might call him Hank Aaron or something, but.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people talk about that they experience like a different type of love when they have a child.
Uh-huh.
Did you feel that? Like
when Will came around?
Yeah, so like there's like obviously the love you have for your parents, and then there's the love you have for your wife or your husband or whoever you get married to or whatever you decide to do. Like there's that type of love, and then there's the love of like having a child.
Yeah, it is different. It's completely different. And it's like not something, I don't know, there's not a ton of words for it really, but it's like obviously when you first see him, and I don't remember things super vividly all the time. Like you don't remember where I was when something happened, but it's like I can remember clear as day, like looking over and seeing him on the table and cutting the umbilical cord and being able to hold him for the first time and hear him cry. And it is, I mean, obviously your life changes, but you're kind of preparing for your life to change for like 9 months. So you're pretty ready for it. Mm-hmm. But it's, and especially I feel like we were in a good position too, because we were, both in our 30s already. So it's not like we were, just young kids starting a family or whatever. But, and then it just becomes all consuming. Like you feel like your identity goes from being Bill Windle to being Will's dad. And, there's a lot to it, but that just becomes immediately the most important thing that you do every day is be a dad and take care of your kids. And so, yeah, it's a different feeling, like to be changing poopy diapers and be like, I love changing this kid's poopy diapers, man. But,
enough, I guess, right here.
Yeah. But I mean, it's completely different, and it's not something, it's not something you can say, what that feels like until it happens to you.
Yeah, that's the general consensus when I talk about, or when I talk to people with kids, how they like it's like you do anything no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah. And the thing is like, it's not even a decision. Like you don't have to weigh the pros and cons. It's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, you just do
Whatever
it.
we're doing it. Yep.
Yeah, if he wants to go left, we're going left.
Yep. Yep. That's kind of how it goes. So.
Is there any weird struggles that you've had since, like any weird, like unexpected things that you've had to learn about yourself or about raising a kid? Or
No, I think we've been really lucky in that Will's a great kid and he's healthy and happy and you always worry about when you have there's a whole bunch of doctor checkups and there's things that they're supposed to be doing at those times and the developmental milestones, and so you want to make sure they're on track with that. And so like, yeah, there's some things in the back of your head like, oh man, I don't think he's saying I don't think he's saying these words clearly enough or whatever. So you worry about that stuff, but at the same time, like he's a happy, healthy kid, and Sam's a great mom, so I've got a great partner with me. So no, there's challenges, of course, but I don't think it's anything that other people don't go through. And especially what I do feel bad for is him being this, obviously when the pandemic started, he wasn't even one yet. His first birthday was over Zoom. And so he's at this age where you want him socializing with other people and you want him to see other kids, and he gets to see kids at daycare, but like we would love to get him in like tumbling and swimming classes and all these other things that toddlers always get to do. And it's not like not trying to throw like a pity party for him or anything like that. He's doing fine, but you wish he could do some of those things. So
yeah, so this is what you just got to put a trampoline in the backyard is what
yeah, well the neighbors have one, and what they do, which power to them, they also have like a skateboard ramp, and so they go on their trampoline with razor scooters, and they do some pretty legit tricks onto that ramp. And so Will's just watching, and we're just gonna toss him in there one day.
Just a BMXer, bro. He's just gonna go to the X Games when he's 5.
Oh man, they've got like a whole fleet of razor scooters next door. There's like 20 kids with razor
just go
scooters.
hop in one day. Just whip out the.
I think you got my razor scooter.
Well, then that's somewhere lost. I lost when we moved out of hometown. I lost the TV. I lost so many stuff, so many things.
You got the guitar though.
Yeah, that thing's unlocked. That thing's in the corner of my room. It's right there. Actually, you can see it.
There she is, prominent.
Just shining over there.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't let because you gave that into like that's a problem, and that's expensive. Like I can't just like.
Yeah, no, that's from my best Christmas ever. I got a guitar and I got my first
razor scooter.
That might have been from one preview. I think that razor scooter Uncle Matt actually got, and it was like a $10 display model from Walgreens. But whatever. But it was a great scooter. But I got the guitar and like my first home gym type setup thing or whatever in the same Christmas. So that was my best Christmas.
Well, this is a good segue right into when did you find lifting?
Well, I wish I would have found it earlier, but it was after my senior year of football in high school. During high school, you would have like the mandatory lifts or whatever, but we used to call them fliffs, fake lifts, and basically you kind of just nobody really cared about anything. But I had one buddy who, after the season senior year, he and I just started going to the gym. And Brother Rice High School had a really nice gym, and so we would go there after school and just hit the gym for like an hour and a half, and then that translated into getting my first gym membership after I graduated high school, which was at formerly Cardinal Fitness.
Cardinal.
Yeah, then became Charter and is now what is in that building now. I don't even know.
Top Notch or whatever it is. Are you so?
Yeah.
There was where Top Notch was, right?
So Top Notch was like in the center of the L, and then Charter / Cardinal was over here, and I don't remember what it is now, but it's something
weird. There's a FedEx over. I just know there's a FedEx.
Yeah,
And
there's a FedEx, and there
flat.
used to be like a uniform store there. I don't know if it's still there or not too. But is Top Notch still open?
No, it's not Top Notch. It's flat. It's
Oh,
Flapjacks that used to be on 111th.
yeah.
That's where It's in where
Oh,
Top Notch is.
that's man, Top Notch was good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a senior year of high school.
Why do you think? What got you into it? Was it just going with your buddy, or
Yeah, I think at first, and then I uh I think I responded pretty quickly to it. Like I started to um be able to I was getting stronger pretty quickly, and so once I started to see that I was able to lift more weight one week than the week before, and it started just to kind of get exciting, and at the same time too, like at that time I knew I was going to college in the fall, and so I was like, well,
you want to look tough?
yeah, yeah, I mean I wanted to be a big guy. um and so that's kind of what it became. And then probably wasn't until college that really it became like it became like a stress relief type thing. And then it would get to the point where, okay, I haven't gone to the gym in 3 days, and I like you get like all of the tizzy because you're so wound up, and the gym's just a really good stress relief. So that's kind of what it became.
Yeah, I pretty much go to the gym if not 7 days a week, at least six
Mm.
right now. But I would have to say you are the first um, gym inspiration I had.
Oh, well,
I was watching you, so
glad to
it's
be it.
that was you eating spoonfuls of peanut butter and getting chicken in black containers
Yeah,
and going to
that
town.
that was pretty much my life for quite some time. And then obviously, that's how 12 years ago that I started going, 13 years ago that I started going to the gym. And there's years that are better and years that are worse of it. But yeah, I've had, there's some really good ones where I was doing my meal prep and all that other junk. And then there's been some lazier ones too. But no, it's like a staple. I would say it's a staple in my life.
The gym, yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
through. Yeah, I would say I'm kind of with you on the same point of where days that I don't go to the gym, I feel frustrated, or
Yeah.
little things send me over the edge when on days where I go work out, they don't.
Yeah, it becomes to the point where it's like, okay, I just got, and now I have a home gym. So it's like, if I have a rough morning at work or something, I go work out over lunch, or, even I can just do like a half-hour workout, and it's just like, I did something. It just feels better. So yeah, it's nice.
How's that feel to have a home gym? Just have say, yeah. And I just want to clarify for people listening. This is not just a dumbbell and a band. He's dedicated a whole separate room in his home to this home gym creation, and he's got a bench and a rack, and he's building stuff for it. So it's come together.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it started off really when the reason I started even getting any home gym equipment is when Sam was home on maternity leave after Will was born. And it was like, all right, well, I would feel terrible just going to the gym. Like, all right, I got to go have fun with the baby. So we ended up getting like just a really cheap, like a $50 bench off Amazon, and those like Bowflex Select Tech dumbbells, like the dumbbells that everyone plays with when you go to Dick's Sporting Goods, but nobody ever buys. So
Mm-hmm.
I bought those and a
You
pull-up
and one
bar.
other person.
Yeah, and they're pretty cool. But no, it especially during the pandemic. The gym that I was going to, obviously, like most other gyms, was closed for a period of time, and we moved into this new house, and it had the space, and so we talked about it, and we're like, well, it'd just be really convenient just to be able to work out at home when we want to work out, instead of spending 20 minutes getting ready and another 20 minutes driving to the gym, and then change in the locker room, and it ends up being this whole endeavor for like 45 minutes to an hour workout. And so yeah, we got a nice rack. I built a weightlifting platform for it. Found some found some bumper plates, which those, I mean, finding good gym equipment right now is pretty tough because everything's sold out. And so the prices are super high when people do have things. And then you got Craigslist and the Facebook marketplace, and everything's just like outrageously priced. So we found a place that had pretty decent prices. So I bought a set of bumper plates, bought a barbell, which is a whole other thing that you can get into, the pros and cons of different barbells. And then we ended up getting a treadmill. So we got like a really nice Nordic Track treadmill, put all rubber flooring in there. So you don't have to worry about, dropping your plates and stuff, and drywalled the whole thing. And so it's a nice little home gym setup.
Did you, are you going to do a mirror wall at all, or?
Yeah, eventually. It's tough to, since I work from home, it's so difficult to, like, I just think about it and I'm like, oh man, a mirror wall would be cool. A dumbbell set would be cool instead of the adjustable dumbbells. Like, all this other stuff would be super cool, but you just have to like pump the brakes a little bit. And, we got all the essentials, and I'm able to get all the workouts in that I need, and Sam's able to get the workouts in that she needs. And even if stuff like, for example, one thing that I would miss would be like cables, and how much sense does it make to have a whole cable set up in your house? Probably not much, but so resistance bands, which is something that I've never really used outside of for stretching, have have kind of become a normal part of my routine. And those, I mean, resistance bands, you could find a ton of different ways to use, and those are actually kind of fun to kind of mess around with and play around with.
They got rid of like any mesh like pulleys or whatever for the cable machine at my school. So like that, I don't have like the the ropes that you do like tricep extensions on.
Oh, really?
They got rid of them because you can't clean them well enough or something.
I guess that makes sense because there's too many like crevices and stuff, nooks and crannies.
Yeah, so they got rid of all those. So I started to use. I bought like a $8 resistance band at TJ Maxx.
Yeah, I mean, they're super affordable, and there's like, if you go on, a lot of what I have found has come from like Reddit, where I just go on the home gym forum, or the subreddit, and like people do crazy things with tiny amounts of space. Like, you could have a 16 square foot room, and people find ways to work out with resistance bands, and with really good results. So it's just a matter of, honestly, the big issue is not getting bored of what you have.
Yeah. Let's see. Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
When I say Andy Dalton, how do you feel?
I see red.
Yeah.
Hair and fire in my eyes.
That's to be honest, I don't know much about the guy. I just know that nobody's happy, and Kyle Fuller is gone.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So what I'll say as my disclaimer here is that I feel bad for Andy Dalton, because I think he is a good guy, and I'm not saying anything negative about Andy Dalton. Great.
In case he hears this.
Yeah, I think he's probably watching it, if we're being honest. He seems like a pretty in tune guy. Yeah. Welcome to the pod. No, but honestly, just to use a stupid cliche, it's like we're a ship without a rudder, and there's really no direction to what the Bears are doing right now. And it infuriates me because over the past, 10 years or so, the Bears have just become like my favorite sporting organization. It's like, you just hate to see something that you invest a lot of your time into caring about without a direction or strategy. So it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I just I follow sport. I just know things here and there. I'm not like a huge sports guy, but it's crazy to think that we were, we scraped by to make it to the play. Like, we were doing so good, we were so strong, scraped to the playoffs, and we have a team that's so capable, but yet does nothing.
Yeah, I don't want to get off into the weeds on it because I could talk about the Bears for like 48 hours straight, but
we can do a special live stream.
I mean, we could do, like a call-a-thon or something. But I mean, we're the third largest market in the United States outside of New York and Los Angeles and Chicago. And Los Angeles just became an NFL market again just 2 years ago. And at the same time, not that New York's great, but we do not put a good product on the field. We have not won a Super Bowl since 1985, and we celebrate our Super Bowl in 1985, which is before I was even born. And at this rate, I feel like we're never going to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. But it's like we celebrate 1985 as it's a fantastic achievement. But look how long ago it was. It's 36 years ago. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? Ship without a rudder.
Yeah, that's it was just I saw like Russell Wilson's name get brought up, and it was like, you have to trade Khalil Mack and like all these star guys, and I was like, that kind of hurts my heart too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not jealous of Ryan Pace, the Bears general manager, because I mean, you have to you put yourself in a position where you have to make a stupid decision to get better. But now the decision is so high stakes because you could be getting rid of the only good people on your team to acquire somebody else that's good. But at the same time, Russell Wilson's 32, and like the average NFL, I mean, quarterbacks can play a long time, but how long are you actually buying there? And then you're also mortgaging your future because you're trading away draft picks. So I'm not jealous of those types of decisions that need to be made, because either way, it's probably wrong.
I thought we should pull Drew Brees out of retirement.
I mean, I don't think Drew Brees can throw more than 9 yards anymore, but that's an improvement over what we've had. I'll take 9 yards.
I think the name Drew Brees in a Bears jersey
it looks nice.
Get somebody who's calling shots out there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can visualize. I like it. Get Peyton Manning. He could play still probably.
He probably has an arm.
He's more cerebral than anything, so I mean, that doesn't go away.
He is a big old cranium. He could probably call some shots.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
That's the Bears. It was fun for a minute when they were just the beginning of the season when they were just winning, and then it went into, when are we going to win again?
Yeah. I mean, you could even tell it was fun at the beginning of the season, but it's like the way that they're winning, you kind of knew it's not sustainable, because like how many times are you going to win on a final drive or have to rely on somebody to make an amazing catch or an amazing throw? It's like, it's not going to pay off.
If your defense is insane, which our defense.
Yeah, and now they're getting up there in age a little bit, so who knows what they got left to give.
Yeah. How do you feel about cryptocurrency?
I actually just did a whole project on cryptocurrency in my last class, and I think it's not something that I'm personally invested in right now, but it's something that I'm open to investing in. And
so you don't have any dollars in the market right now?
No, I got no dollars in the crypto currency market currently. I don't have any Bitcoin or Dogecoin.
Tom has Dogecoin.
I don't doubt that Tom does have Dogecoin. Of all the cryptocurrencies, that's what he would have. My favorite name for a cryptocurrency is Ethereum. I think that's pretty awesome sounding. But if you look at cryptocurrency, the market's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And as the market continues to grow, it's going to stabilize more, because that's the big knock on cryptocurrency right now, is it has really high highs and really low lows. But the more money and the more volume you have in the market, the more it stabilizes. So, I think if you can get in on it now and when prices are low, go ahead and do it. And I don't think it's going anywhere. And the interesting thing to see will be how governments choose to regulate it, because there's a lot of governments that won't allow it. That won't allow foreign transactions of cryptocurrency. And it's just, I don't know, it's interesting to see. And I'm sure there will be some governments that decide to set some trends. Even in the United States, there's no federal regulations against it. It's all at the state level. So you've got some states that are, flying crazy with cryptocurrency, and some states that aren't doing anything. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Well, you saw that Tesla bought like $1.5 billion worth of crypto, and they're accepting it as payment for Teslas.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I kind of honed in on my project, and it was like a hypothetical case study that I was doing on how to approach cryptocurrency. And I think it makes sense, especially because the like transaction fees for cryptocurrency are super, super low. So if you look at like credit card fees, which could be, like 3 to 5%, say, and then cryptocurrency transaction fees are like 0.01%. So I mean, you're just adding money to the top line, which is great. So I think it does have a future, and I think it's probably going to be with tech companies like that, with Tesla. And in my hypothetical situation, I was a solar panel company. So I think it's going to be things like that have high asset value. I think that's probably where you're going to see the biggest bang for your buck.
How do you feel about solar panels?
Oh, I don't know. I think solar panels and windmills or wind turbines are a great complementary energy source. I don't think that we're ready to rely on them completely for an energy grid yet. I think you need on-demand energy, and those don't provide it.
Yeah, that's I'd given. I don't know if you know this. You probably do. I probably showed you a little bit of the slides or something on my.
Is this what you got the key for? The key to the city or whatever you earned?
Yeah, no, that's not. I got the key to the city because I told people that they should pay me $100,000 out of college.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I demand it.
How's the demands going?
Great. I have no offers. But yeah, right. Right now, only like 20% of a solar panel in its entirety is effective.
Mm-hmm.
So it just we in class we were talking about alternative energies and all that, and right now it's just not at the rate that it would need to be sufficient. And it costs way more, and it takes way more mining. And people don't think they think solar, they think renewable, but you're also every solar panel you make costs mining, manufacturing, and all that.
Yeah, there. Everything is like they want everything fixed right now, and I think eventually we do need to find a way to make energy in this country renewable, and we do need to find a way to make it carbon neutral. I don't think we have the technology to do that right now, and not experience mass blackouts like you experienced in Texas. You need on-demand energy. If in the summer you randomly have a day that is 110 degrees or whatever out of nowhere, and people are cranking up the ACs, and it's cloudy out, and you don't have those solar panels or those solar arrays producing energy, we just don't have a way to rely on it yet. And I think there's got to be some more advancement done there before we make that complete transition.
That's just a little mini side tangent.
Yeah.
Let's dive deep back into cryptocurrencies. If you're
We're diving deeper into crypto.
Yeah, I know that when I see a specialist in crypto, I know when I see one, and I'm talking to one right now.
Okay.
So, where do you have a stock portfolio?
Yes.
Do you have heavy hands in there?
No, my investments are managed by a third party. So
like Party City?
Yeah, Party City runs my stock portfolio, so I feel pretty good about it. No, I think it's one of those things where you have to, especially it's not just my money that I'm managing, it's our family's money, it's our future investments and things like that. So it's like I need to, if I was younger, I would say that I would probably be tooling around with it a little bit myself, but I don't know enough about it to be doing the right thing all the time. Sometimes maybe I'll get lucky, but I'd rather just play it safe and have somebody else do that stuff for me.
Yeah, that's I went and I consulted, as I do, with a lawyer from church, and he has a pretty big stock portfolio, and because this is when I was offered from NPL. I was in one of their Roth IRAs or 401k programs.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I signed up for it But I was there. I was putting percentages in of my check.
Okay.
So that's just there, and I don't know. It's somewhere, and I can get there.
You better find it.
Well, I have a portfolio. I have a packet with like,
Okay.
all the. It's like a Vanguard thing.
Did they match a certain percentage?
Yeah.
So it's free money.
Yeah. So once I got that packet, I was like, I don't understand any of this. I saw like words that I recognized, like Roth RIA.
Yeah.
I know who Baby Ruth is. So
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. I didn't know he made it like a stock portfolio, but
Yeah, he was a pretty diverse guy.
he pointed and they went. So that's when I talked to him about all that stuff, and it's I was like, oh, I like this company or I like that company. Let's give them some money.
Yeah.
And then that's when I think stocks. I'm like, oh, I like this. Let's do that. But it's not. It's a way more complex.
Yeah.
It's very intimidating.
Yeah, you can do that kind of stuff. Like I think that it's super easy now especially with like the Robinhood app and the whole GameStop situation or whatever. Like you can, what do they call it?
Inflate.
Yeah, they did that. But I forget what kind of investing they call it. It's like consumer investing or something or whatever. But basically just, average you and me, Joe Schmo, is going in and saying, okay, I want to buy 10 shares of blah, blah, blah. And you can manage a portfolio that way. But I think, especially if you're planning for long-term things, if say you're planning for your retirement or you're trying to save up for a house or something like that, your better bet is to invest into a fund, which is typically what your 401k or your Roth or your 403b, whatever, would do. And so that way you have your fund and you have a set percentage. So say I want to invest 10% into company stock and 10% is going to be in international stock and 10% is in bonds and all this other junk. But so no matter what, you've got some safe bets in there, like your bonds, and then you've got some riskier stuff, which, maybe commercial stock or something like that. And then, but you're just looking for an average rate of return. So say you're getting an average rate of return of, I don't know, 6-7%. That's, that may be what you set your floor at. And then you have to just adjust the investments within the portfolio to make sure you're getting what you need to. Versus if you invest in like one stock and you have a bad day in that stock and you're counting on that money, that's like actually part of your assets, your liquidity, then you're in rough shape.
I was looking, like I said, when I went to that meeting, I was just looking at companies and what their stocks were. I was like, this is before I came to college or anything. Or no, it was after. It was my first summer home. So I was like, what are some trendy companies?
Yeah,
Lulu,
see what's going on.
So I was like, what's Lulu doing right now? What are they up to?
Yeah.
And I just want you to know that when I looked at them at Lulu stock prices, they were at $17.
Where are they at now?
308.
Did you invest in any Lululemon?
I want to tell you no. I wish I could tell you yes. It hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff, it's hard, it really is hard to project unless you're actually analyzing their financials and stuff. Like they could just be, Lululemon could have just been a flash in the pan or something, but, clearly they were set up and prepared for exponential growth, and there they are.
I could have been a millionaire right now.
Could be. I could be talking with the owner part owner of Lululemon.
Or potential full owner. I probably could have worked a deal.
Yeah, I imagine you would have bought them out by now.
Yeah, probably would have invested in Apple when it was like, we went back in time.
Back in the 80s, some serious
Just
investing. Yeah.
Drop a couple hundred hundo. That's talk sports. Pretty much anything. We have now got to the time where we're at pretty much anything.
Okay.
So, first question, would you rather, I asked the best questions, would you rather fight a gorilla or a grizzly bear? And there's
Maybe.
only one right answer to this, and I hope you answer correctly.
I mean, my gut tells me grizzly bear.
Okay, you're
Is
on
that
the
the right
right.
answer?
You're on the right track.
I don't guess I don't really have a rationale for it other than I feel like a gorilla would just literally just pick me up and tear me in two.
See, that's the thing. So a grizzly bear, I believe, will just try to kill you to
Yeah.
eat you.
Yeah.
But a
Gorillas get
gorilla
angry.
will tear you apart
Yes.
and just like mess with you
Yes.
and just drag you along.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good.
So that's why you should always choose grizzly bear in this situation.
Not to mention, I was at Costco earlier today,
where you saw a grizzly bear.
There was a couple grizzlies, and it didn't give me much of an issue. No, they sell family packs, obviously like a Costco sized version of pepper spray at Costco for protecting you against bears. So it's like if I could buy a defense against a grizzly bear at Costco, and there's no gorilla bear defense at Costco, or no gorilla defense at Costco, so I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, you're predisposed to save yourself from grizzlies.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So
I asked that question because I know that you are the king of hypotheticals, of what ifs, and how about this scenario?
Yeah.
And it's you were always the person to bring up scenarios, and then you would wait for someone to ask you about your question because you've been planning your answer the entire time by asking everybody else in the room.
Yeah, most of the time, a lot of that is, you do generally want to get a feel for what the consensus is. Like, if you had to, pick one animal that only you have the ability to talk to, like one particular species or something. Like, yeah, I want to hear what you have to say. But at the same time, to me, the answer is it's just dogs. Like, it has to be dogs. And so I just want to talk about why it needs to be dogs. But I mean, yeah, I'm interested too. So
and that just, it sets up good life choices like meetings.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask people their opinion, okay, but this is the answer.
But you're wrong. Like iguanas, how often do you see iguanas?
Yeah. If you're really trying to talk to birds, they're all the way up
Why?
there.
What do they have to say?
See them.
Yeah, they're not even man's best friend.
They're not even close to being. They might be man's best enemy.
I mean, they've been around since dinosaur time, so.
Do you think a mass extinction's coming?
At some point, for sure.
Do you think this was supposed to be it, and we just got lucky?
The pandemic?
Yeah.
No, I think we've seen. I think the human race has come through smallpox and it's come through the Black Plague and all that other bubonic plague, all that other junk, and but I do think it's like it could be something that's a lot worse. Imagine like I'm very fortunate to not personally know anybody that died of COVID, but I know a ton of people that had it. So imagine if the mortality rate was higher, or if the symptoms were more severe or caused, it was much more likely to cause lasting effects and things like that. Like that could be, a game changer for the human race.
Well, the thing is, like, I remember, it was the first week in COVID, and you're like, hey, come hang out.
Mm-hmm.
The world's ending. Let's go to Costco or something.
That's the place you want to be. They got the pepper spray.
And then I came to visit, and we were all masked up and stuff. But it was like when we were driving on those roads, it was desolate. Like the first 2 weeks of COVID, when we were supposed to be like, it was like only go outside if need be. It was really like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it's something that you can almost kind of laugh about a little bit now, but it really was like, I mean, it was legit scary because nobody knew, like, and it was just this thing, and especially now that we have been more exposed to it. Like I said, people that have had it. At that time, it was like, when's it gonna hit? When's it gonna strike? So it was just like you're trying to weather a storm, and it was kind of scary, especially the time of year. Like, what was it? Early March. It was just kind of and it was super snowy and wintry, and it was just not a good time.
Yeah, it was just like Mike Tyson was like hiding behind a tree, and he didn't know when he was
Basically, I mean, it was basically the same situation.
Yeah, is COVID is just Mike Tyson hiding behind trees, and he hasn't found you.
No,
That's
but he's still out there.
he's not gone.
Mike Tyson don't go away.
Never. I saw a Mike Tyson commercial today, and it was for Mike's Hard Lemonade,
Makes
and
sense.
it's great setup. This guy goes, if there's one last, it was for like a hard seltzer,
Hmm.
and the guy goes, whose lemonade is this? And they all go, Mike's, and then he goes, well, whose is this? And then he's like, because it's a Mike's Hard Lemonade. So he's like, oh, well, who is it? It's Mike's. And then he goes to grab it, right? He's like, I don't care. I don't see anybody Mike around here. And Mike Tyson walks outside the house, and he goes, hey. And the guy puts it back on the ice, and he runs away. It's a sprint. And Mike Tyson goes, oh, I just want to tell you there's more in the fridge. And that's the end of that commercial.
And this has been brought to you by Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Right across the street. You know,
Perfect.
right there. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah, that is great.
We should become advertisers. I think we could come up with things like that.
Yeah, what are most podcasts I feel like are sponsored by like the same 5 companies. Trying to think. There's that one's like cereal brand, like the protein cereals. I don't know if you heard that one.
No.
They sponsor a lot of like the sport ones.
Then I've heard of them, and they are in contact with me. They're on the line.
Things are in the works right now. That's for sure.
I just want people to know that if they feel like, you know how we talked about investing in things earlier, if there was a thing to invest in this. Once I figure out how to edit these better and can put ads in between, they're going up. They're going.
You should. I may have mentioned this to you already, but you should check like through Central. I have free access to all of like the Adobe programs, so like Photoshop and all that other junk. And there's one that's called Adobe Audible, I think, or Adobe Audition, and you could do
Auto Show.
Yeah, Adobe Auto Show, right after the Chicago. But no, it's got pretty cool like audio editing features, and then I think they have a video editing one too. So you should check and see if you have that.
If Adobe Auditions wants to sponsor this podcast and let me get their software and or send me an editor, I might say yes.
Maybe that'd be big. That'd be a big brand move for Adobe.
I mean, you see the play on words? Talking. It's one word. 2 words.
It's very smart.
I came up with that at like 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep.
Talking. Beautiful.
You know, wouldn't you know it? You know, where is my brother podcast at? Where is that? Is that a thing that we have? You know, are we gonna see it?
It's still in the works. There's some serious production planning that goes into Wouldn't You Know It. So we're still working on season 1, episode 1. It's going to be big though.
Yeah.
There's actually a podcast. I don't know if you've heard of Hardcore History, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History,
I've heard of Dan Carlin, but not hardcore.
Yeah. So, well, if you ever find yourself with like 4 to 5 spare hours and you don't know what to do with it,
I often do.
Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, and he goes through there's several series that he has, but the best one is the World War I series, and it's like 3 to 4 hour episodes, and he talks through the entire history of World War I, and it's just it's fantastic. But they go like 2 years in between episodes because he puts so much time and like research into them. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. So what's the first one going to be on since you've been working?
Wouldn't you know it?
Yes. There it is. but you did. We're gonna tie this right back into entrepreneurship,
Yeah, sure.
the minor.
Yeah.
You talked about TC taps and cans,
Taps and cans. Yep.
tabs and cans. Is that a dream? Is that still a thought?
Yeah. I would say it's like I don't know what to call it really. It's like a goal. It is a goal, but I wouldn't say that it's anything specific at this point. I think when I moved up here in 2015, this is before I met Sam and had Will, and obviously, family stuff settles you down just from what you want to do. I did want to open something up, and Uncle Matt and I actually had one of those, like, how in the movies they have those napkin sessions where you're in a bar and you're writing ideas down on a napkin, and that's what we did actually. So we came up with this idea for Taps and Cans, which was like a bottle shop, like a craft beer bottle shop slash pub type thing. Like you can go in and get a beer while you're shopping for beer type situation. And so that was my goal. And then, obviously got married and started a family. And so now, and then I found this job that I'm in that I love my job right now. And so I'm not willing to leave that to start something new, but eventually down the road, I would feel like I missed an opportunity if I didn't start something of my own. So that's kind of what it is. It's just kind of like a general goal right now. It doesn't have to be that anymore, but I'd like to do something on my own accord.
Do you do you often come up with just like ideas of like inventions or startups or like stuff like that? Like do you find yourself like spitting out ideas where you think they
Yeah.
could go places?
Yeah. Not so much inventions, more of like kind of services or things that are kind of already in existence, but kind of like a spin on them. I'm not like an invention guy like your mom is. But so we were leaving the mall today. So we went to go get dinner, and there's like Pier 1 went out of business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Pier 1, it's like from the outside looking in, if you didn't know it was a Pier 1, it's a cool looking building because it's kind of got like a lodgy type feel, and then like the front third of it is all glass. It's all glass floor to ceiling windows, and it's like, wow, it's kind of a cool building. And that would be a cool spot for like a brew pub. Kind of think like what's the one down there, the where you get the 2 a.m. burger in Chicago?
Rock bottom.
Yeah, kind of like a rock bottom situation, like a higher end brew pub, but better beer because they don't really do too much. So things like that, like repurposing buildings or like thinking of great locations for things. Some of the things you just drive by, you're like, why would you put this here? And especially in Traverse City, where so much of the stuff is centralized downtown around tourism, it's like, I don't know. There's just a lot of things like, oh, this would be great here. People would love this here. Things like that.
Gotcha. So more so like optimizing like
Yeah.
towns and stuff.
Yeah. Like I think that, if I find something that I'm super passionate about, even if it's something that exists already, yeah, I think being passionate about it is the number one thing. And then being very, very thoughtful in your business plan, because I think a lot of people just go into things, or they only have enough capital to like open the business and then get them through 2 months of operation and things like that. And so you just have to be very planful.
Yeah. So did you see yourself? I mean, I don't know if you saw yourself ever doing like construction, but did you see yourself ever like you know, right out of college just doing your own thing or, making something?
Um, I would say when I was in high school and I kind of did like a 5-year plan or whatever for my senior year, I always thought that I was going to go into business. And actually, when I first went to Michigan State, my major was business administration pre-law, because I wanted to go to law school originally. And then halfway through my sophomore year, I opted just to change that to business management because I couldn't envision myself going 4 years of undergrad and then going right into law school. I just didn't want to do that. But I guess I didn't really know. And being a business management major is is such a vague thing, because what is business management? Like there's a lot of it. It's like you take, 30% of all the other business majors, like 30% finance, 30% accounting, economics, all these other things. And you kind of just learn about them. And it's really weird. It doesn't set you up to go into one particular industry. And that's how I found myself in retail, which is not what I envisioned at all. And again, that was a great experience and I learned a ton from it, but just not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then I guess it wasn't really until I found DTE that I realized what I could actually achieve with my business degree. But yeah, there's always still that kind of idea of starting something on your own, and we'll see when that takes place.
Do you usually have to see yourself doing something for you to go ahead and do it, or do you have the ability just to be like, okay, I'm here, I'm going to do it, or I don't see myself doing that, or that's outside of my comfort zone, so I'm going to do it because of that?
I would say sometimes if I'm thinking about doing something, it may take me a long time to make a decision, and I may go back and forth on it a lot. But usually once I make my mind up about something, I just do it. I don't like to put things off. If I say this is something I want to do, then I do it. And usually because of how many hypotheticals I ask, I always walk through like 1,000. I'm kind of like Dr. Strange a little bit, and I think of all the 1,000 different scenarios and how things can go wrong, but then also how they can go right. And usually the ways that things can go right are what sells me on it. So, but yeah, usually it may take a while to make a decision, but I'm pretty decisive once I do.
But you have to see yourself doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say that I just like jump into something. I would need to see myself doing it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I don't know. I don't really envision myself with a drill and a hammer, but I do see myself standing in front of buildings that I could say I helped create.
Yeah, that's another one of the things. Like, I guess when you have to picture the steps along the way, so like especially in your field, and like I said, I'm sure the career paths a lot better than I do. But I'm sure that there's lots of different ways to get to being that person that's standing outside the building saying I helped create this. And I would imagine they don't all have to go through being like a laborer or anything like that. Even if you just look at DTE, for example, and I technically work in the construction industry, but I was a business major. And I've obviously never had to go out with a shovel and put pipe in the ground or, do anything like that. And it's feasible for me to see myself climbing up and, getting pretty high up in the company without ever having to do any of that manual stuff. So, I think you probably just need to create a plan and figure out what you can see yourself doing, because you're going to have to figure out something entry level, obviously, once you graduate. Because I'm sure they're not just gonna
declare my $100,000 salary and
kick
some doors down.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can go that route. I just demand to be the guy standing outside the building.
Just give me the scissors and I'll put the ribbon up.
Yeah, give me the big scissors.
I will be the ribbon cutter guy.
Yeah, just demand it. I mean, if you demand it, they have to do it.
It's law. Yeah. So back to what you're saying about different career paths, they teach us in school for construction management. There's two tracks.
Mm-hmm.
One's the field track, and one is the office path.
Yeah.
And I went through 6 or 7 interviews where every guy that I interviewed with was basically ended up telling me that, yeah, you're really charismatic, we like you a lot, but you're definitely an office guy. And I
really?
was yeah.
How do I take that? Yeah.
I know, right? It's thanks. Is that because I'm smart or because I'm dumb?
Yeah. What are you saying here? Yeah.
I don't know what you want from me, but So the field path, it can start from, being in the trades, or even coming out with the construction management degree. You get like a little bit, obviously you get you get there a little bit faster with a degree, and you get like a little bit different titles. But the field path usually goes um, project manager,
Yeah.
project assistant, or project assistant, project manager, project engineer, superintendent, and then the classes of superintendent, then general superintendent, and then that's like that's usually the cap for
Mm-hmm.
that, depending on how the company's laid out. But then um, for the office, it usually goes project manager, project engineer, um, construction manager, construction operations manager, and construction operations manager is usually like a whole like area, whereas like you're not in charge of people anymore, you're in charge of a region.
Yeah.
So those are like the two, and obviously every company is set up differently, and each title has their own set of rules for or set of or descriptions for each place. But that was like my first class in the construction major. That was like, those are the two main tracks that people go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
A lot of the people that I work with are project managers, um, and they take on, these multi-million dollar projects for, a lot of the stuff that we do is like, say there's an entire area of Michigan right now that doesn't have natural gas, and then they're responsible for bringing gas to these areas, whether it's a city or a municipality or whatever the case may be. And so there's obviously that sounds like an easy enough thing, like you put pipe in the ground and bring it there. But so they have these systems, and so systems have a certain amount of gas, and they're supplied a certain amount of gas. Some of them have a capacity of a certain PSI. So say, that's like a 60-pound system versus a 100-pound system. So there's all these different interconnected things. And so you need to figure out what's the most efficient way to get gas from A to B without that, they have, you can open up gas to another area, and then the previous area that you're connecting to runs out of gas because they just don't have enough capacity to get through the entire system then. So there's a ton that goes into it, and planning, and it's like multi-year projects. And those guys, they start years in advance of planning for this stuff, creating, they put together their own teams, and they bring together these contractors, and it's a very detailed, in-depth job for sure.
yeah. Were you guys affected by the Line 5, I think, getting shut down? That's where they're trying to bring the pipe underneath the Mackinac Bridge. Were you guys dragged into any of that at all? Do you know? Or
Um, yeah and no, because that whole thing does impact. It's still active right now, to my knowledge, and I'm not an expert on it by any means. Um, but it does, it impacts energy flow. It's oil pipelines. um, so yeah, we haven't experienced anything yet, but I just kind of goes back to that renewable thing. Like, yes, it's great that we want to get better, but I think we need to find a different way to get better other than just saying we can't do this, we can't do that. Whether, I obviously agree that the Great Lakes and the Straits of Mackinac need to be protected, and an oil spill there would be catastrophic. But that's also a huge resource for the state, and provides a lot of energy for the state. So I just think they need to figure something out that's beneficial for everyone.
yeah, that seems to be like a lot of issues, even with like not even like natural gas, but a lot of issues have been coming to like, oh well, if you're not gonna do it our way, then we're not gonna do it, and it's just like there's no room for anything to get done, or for conversation to be had. and
Yeah.
that's a lot of good things are being lost, and that's where everybody is so polarizing.
Yeah. And that's, that I think is a lot of the society that we live in right now. Cause it's like you could ask 100 people, is ruining or is hurting the environment a bad thing? And 100 people, I hope, would say yes, right? And so everyone would agree on a ton of things, but it's just some people want this right now when it's not possible. And if it's not possible right now, then we're never going to fix it. So it's like there, yeah, I agree. There needs to be more reasonable discussion. And I think people need to not be so entrenched in what they think they know. Yeah, I don't know. People just don't seem open to learning new things and potentially changing their opinions on things.
Well, yeah, it's a lot over the past 4 years. I mean, I was never super into politics or whatever, but even if I didn't want to be into politics, you just can't. You couldn't get away from it. You couldn't get away from politics. You can't get away now. People are protesting in the streets of Marquette, still going back and forth with each other just because nobody can accept that. Nobody can just say, "Hey, we don't think," or like, "Hey, do you agree that killing people on like for the wrong reasons is wrong?" And
Yeah.
then they go, "Yeah, but those aren't the right reasons, or those aren't wrong reasons," and it just goes back and forth and back and forth. But at the end of the day, like, obviously killing someone when you don't have to is never the good choice.
Yeah, that's the bad part is I think if you really boiled things down to like core issues, I think most people agree on most things. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. But then you add in all this other extra junk, and that's when stuff becomes issues. I think, I think most people generally have a lot of the same values. So,
Yeah, that's another reason why I started, this podcast is that um, people don't want to talk through things or about things that, make them uncomfortable, or like they will, shout their opinion, but when you come, you get to them and you talk to them, they're like, they don't even, okay, if you're going to state your opinion out in public, or like you're going to say it to the masses, when I talk to you about it and I bring up stuff, or if you're not willing to debate me on points, then
mhm.
that's not really your point of view. That's just you either agreeing, that's you trying to get attention, or you trying to, please someone.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that too, where especially like Twitter, Twitter is awful. It's great and it's awful because you get information so quickly. But at the same time, there's so much of like group think, right? Because I want to align my values with these people and they think this way. And so I need to think that way. It's like, how far do you let that take you when you realize I actually don't agree with much of what you're saying anymore? So it's, and these things just get moving so quickly, like just for an example, the defund the police. And
Mhm.
it's like, I think if you would ask the first people that would have said defund the police, I think they probably wish they would have chosen different phrasing for that, because then it turned into this thing that I don't think it ever intended to be. And it's like, well, yeah, that's obviously a divisive statement. But I think if you were to actually ask people without using that phrase, what do you mean? I think people, I would hope that people would agree a little bit more. But
Well, the thing is everything is now, a lot of news is just the title of
mhm.
the article and nothing, or the news is made to divide us now rather than give us news. It's to provoke an emotion, either the one that you want or the one that you don't want, but either way, if it's getting a click or it's getting read, it's what they want. So
Yeah, there was something, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but it's something I heard that like most of the major like cable news networks, like CNN, Fox News, all that other junk, um, that they're not actually. I think if you look at like however they're
Oh,
corporately filed, that they're not actually news
yeah,
agencies, they're
yes,
entertainment companies.
entertainment. Yes, I saw that. That was
Yeah.
I read that, in an article that I clicked on the title too.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, that they don't have to make correct claims because it's not. That's crazy.
Yeah. And
That
there used to be something else too, and I don't know the backstory to this whole thing. This is just kind of like a vague idea, but there used to be some law that competing viewpoints were required to be given equal amount of airtime on these channels. So like if you say you're on Fox News, for example, and you have like a police union chief or whatever talking for 30 minutes, like someone had to be able to be talking about the opposite end of it for 30 minutes. And it's like that, kind of going back to your point, to being able to, or being open to listening to opposing viewpoints, that law got repealed or whatever the case was. I don't know if it was the 70s or 80s, but I think since then you just see this huge polarization, especially these entertainment companies now, and they know who their audience is, and so they just kind of pander to those audiences.
yeah, I didn't understand, um, you know, how the news stations or the news channels were set up to where the first time I really ever saw it was at Charter Fitness on
Hmm.
the TVs when Fox News was right next to the CNN news
Yeah,
TV, and I was on the treadmill and I was like, there's the same words, but one like on the screen, but
yeah,
there's different images,
it's like completely different. Yeah,
and I just like, how do you expect this country, excuse me, to be united
yeah,
when all you do is feed them things to dislike each other or hate each other, and like you said, defund the police when you, you can make the argument to give more funding to police so they can have better training, and it's just
hmm,
there's just so many ways to solve problems, but nobody wants to talk about it.
yeah,
Nobody wants, they just want, like you said, we're so used to getting things immediately. You want food, okay, don't even worry about it. You press two buttons on your phone, get what you want, order it, it'll be there in 15 minutes. You want information, okay, look it up. What's that person's age? What country's flag is that? Boom, it's there in 2 seconds. Boom, 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 and
yeah,
you're like, oh, you're having a literal moral crisis with how your viewpoints, and you want them to be, solved. Then you want the entire policing system to be changed in a second.
yeah.
Right now, that's not how it works, and it's just like it.
There,
It's
there
just,
was something that I was listening to on a podcast because I don't know why, for some reason I've been on this tangent about space because I think space is really cool, and so I like listening to stuff about it. And they were talking about how long it would take to send like a probe or a like a rover type thing to the nearest like the nearest star. And I forgot what the amount of years they said it would be, but they said nobody will do it because of how long it takes, because you won't be there to realize or to see the results of your labor. But then centuries ago, when like in Europe, and they would be building these cathedrals, these great cathedrals, and the cathedrals would take like the one cathedral in Spain, I forget the name of it, is still being built right now, and they would take hundreds of years. And so you may design it and you may lay the initial brick, but you never get to see the results of it. And I think people just have lost that desire to do something for the greater good, even though it may take longer than you want it to.
yeah, they may not reap the benefits. It's all
Hmm.
like, it's like a selfish, like, hey, if I don't get anything out of it, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, and that's one of the more frustrating things, is knowing that things can be done that would be beneficial. And especially since having Will, it's like I want him to live in a world that is better than what it is right now. And I don't know why other people have such a difficult time working towards that.
Yeah, it was. It's like, it's strange because people like a lot of people that preach unity
Hmm.
don't want you to be a part of their unity, and
Yeah.
then people that preach independence don't want you to have independence.
Yeah, it really is a me culture. It's and I think a lot of that is my generation, and the new generation. It is like a me selfish culture rather than community culture, which I think we've probably been on the path off of that type of culture for some time, but it's getting more so now.
Yeah. I just I wonder how things would have panned out if COVID didn't happen in the election year. Like how would things be worse? Would they be better? I'm not saying obviously things are worse because a lot of people lost their lives, but like would we have found, you know, like at the end of Trump's fourth year, would we found like unity or something, or what would happen, or if he would have won the election, what would have happened? Like would other utter chaos would have come loose, like the storming of the Capitol and like all that stuff, like that stuff you see in movies, then it happens, and then you just see it's the same people but different faces
Yeah.
of the ones that storm the Capitol, and then the ones that are like destroying buildings and stuff in downtown Chicago and all that. And it's just like you guys are they're so passionate about those two things. Why can't you be passionate about each other? If people were just
Yeah.
passionate about each other, none of this, you wouldn't have to do any of this.
Yeah. Last year, last year was, you know, like a perfect storm of everything bad that could happen in a single year. Like, I mean, everybody's seen the memes of, you know, God planning 2020 and they're putting all the worst things or whatever in there on accident.
The
But
killer bees.
yeah, yeah, that was a thing that we thought would happen. Um, but I think, but it kind of opens everyone's eyes because all these things, all those passions and the anger and the frustration, like that's all stuff that was there, but there was nothing really to, well, I think the pandemic gave people a lot of time to let that stuff fester and to ruminate on that anger and whatever you want to call it. Um, but it was obviously all there, and then a series of events brought it all out. And I think the biggest thing to me is I feel, obviously live in northern Michigan now, but I feel I was so fortunate to grow up in the suburbs of Chicago because there were so many people that it was such a different, there were so many different groups of people, and it really was, to use that term melting pot, it really was, and it really is. And, you're exposed to so many different viewpoints, and not to say that they're all right, or not to say that anyone else's are all wrong, but it kind of exposes you to different types of thinking. Whereas a lot of other areas, I think people are just so caught up in their circle and who they know and who they interact with at the grocery store, and they think that's their America, and that is, to them, that's their America. And so when they think that something should be that way, they think it should be that way for them, and they think that applies to everyone else. And so, it's I think that people, not to sound like a perfect world situation or whatever, but like people need to just take the time to open themselves up to other cultures and other groups of people and see things through other people's viewpoints.
Yeah, that's funny that you said that about like small town America and all that. Is like I this past Friday we had a student summit where professionals come back to class, and they like teach different like PowerPoint sections and all that. They give like presentations,
Hmm.
and my 9 a.m. was on diversity, inclusion, and equality.
Hmm.
and it was basically it was three white guys
Yeah.
on diversity, inclusion, and equality.
Solid.
And it was basically them saying, hey, get as many people that don't look like you to work with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it has to be like where we grew up it has to be more than that. Like I was having such a hard time. Like I'm so happy I had my face mask on, but I had a hard time like not like like giggling. Like guys, like
Yeah.
that's not diversity and or inclusion or equality.
Yeah.
Like that's just like you're trying to please an image when really diversity in the workplace can be okay, you and I, we look the same, but we have different backgrounds. We have this,
Yeah.
or it's not about getting as many different colors in a room as possible, or different genders, or whatever you want to put in there. It's not that. It's like it's it's so much more than that. And the fact that people, when they hear diversity, equality, and inclusion, that they're like, we'll just make it look like you're all
Yeah.
hanging out together. When it's so much more like, how are you gonna, put people who don't get their voices heard in positions where they have to make choices and they are respected? And
Yeah.
that's what I get out of that is like, how are you going to make the people that don't get a voice? How are you going to give them voices? How are you going to give them decision making roles? And how are you going to let them play? How are you going to play as a team more than
Yeah.
like, hey, let's get this conference room, everybody take a picture. Okay, that was a great meeting, everybody. See you all next week for the next picture.
Yep. That's kind of going back to what we've already talked about. Like people just fall in love with what they think about things. And somebody else comes in and, maybe they're from a different part of the world and maybe they practice a different religion or maybe they're a different gender or whatever the case may be. And they say, hey, I don't see things the same way you do. And people just get so immediately angry at that to the point where they want, it's like, you know what, I'd rather just avoid this and let me just associate with people that have the same viewpoints as me. And just like you said, that could be, it still could be people of different color or whatever, or ethnicities or whatever. But people just avoid it so much because they hate the discomfort of thinking that what they originally thought may not be right or may not be the only way of doing something. But, a lot of it does go back to where we grew up, and not that it was everything that it could be, but there were a lot of different people and a lot of different voices and a lot of we had international students and all kinds of different things, and you just kind of learned that people do things different ways, and that doesn't make your way wrong, it doesn't make their way wrong, it just means that maybe there's multiple ways to do it.
Yeah, it's crazy to like, I can't think of a world where we don't grow up like how we grew up. I it's not that I don't, I know it exists, but I just can't believe that people are stuck in those ways still, and people still say outlandish things and do outlandish things. And as Women in Construction Week, and everyone's posting these pictures of like the women they have at their job and all that, but then okay, that's one time a week, like that's the one
Yeah.
week in the entire year. Like if you have people in your company that you appreciate, no matter what they look like, what they do, or who they are, you spotlight them, you let them become stars in their field. And it's crazy.
And that's one of those things too where it's like it's tough to find that balance, because we are in a place where even though you may do something one way and I may do something one way, a lot of people still wouldn't do that thing the one way. So it's like you see the value in that, like a Women in Construction Week, for example, because then it almost does force people to see things one way, and to even if it is just for show or whatever, just to like to get people a foot in the door. But then at the same time, to your point, it's like well, if that person's a great employee, they should be celebrated 52 weeks of the year, and you should, your real congratulations to them should be to be a great boss, because they're a great employee and you should take care of your great employees. But so it's like there is a balance there, because I do see value in that, but at the same time, it does maybe diminish what those people are actually accomplishing.
Yeah, because I mean, it is only 8% in the construction field are women, but like that's you gotta give them more than the week. Like like you said, it's like almost foolish, because it's like, okay, do you really appreciate them, or are you doing this? I hate that a lot of life now when it comes to companies, um, not even just in the construction world, but like big brands, Target, McDonald's, just bigger companies doing things or putting up images just to be seen as a way to get customers.
Yeah, I mentioned this the other day, like, it's virtue signaling is a real thing, and like after the George Floyd incident last year, and like every company that I've ever interacted with was sending me an email like, Patagonia stands against, police brutality and all this. It's like, I do something then. Do put your money behind candidates that are going to propose change or something like that. Like, I don't care to get your email. And then the same thing, after the tragedy in Atlanta, against the Asian community a couple days ago, and the same thing, I started getting all these emails again. I'm like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, stop pandering and pretending like you're doing something, and do something.
Yeah. You gotta, it's really, it's crazy to think that like these companies do have actual governmental power.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh, more than we do.
yeah. So it's just like the people that are the people that are like, yeah, we stand by you, we stand with you, we stand for them, we are with you in this. Okay, then do something. Then do something
Yeah.
about it. Like, then if you have, you have your hands in government pockets, go change something. Go increase your taxes, or go increase your wealth tax, or go and make a safe place in a bad neighborhood for people.
Yep.
If you wanna say all this stuff, but changing your icon on your Twitter page or your Facebook page isn't.
Yeah.
That's not a safe place.
No. And there's so, like, as I get older, there's so much more to being a smart consumer. And not that my dollars will impact anything, but if there's enough smart consumers out there, maybe it will. And I think that's one of the biggest things is so many fake marketing campaigns and in my finance class that I'm in right now, they teach you that the number one responsibility for any decision-making level manager within a corporation is to maximize profits for shareholders. So if that means sending out a pandering type email like that while you do the complete opposite with the candidates that you endorse or whatever the case may be, then do it. That's, it's crazy to think that there's such a lack of transparency there, and you really need to do your homework on the companies that you do support. Again, not that my $20 a year or whatever really makes that much of a difference, but who knows?
Yeah, but you're on the, like, with what you're saying, you're on the right track of, like, I'm in a marketing class right now, and it's basically the same consensus, is that you don't think about it, but we all are consumers. No matter what no matter where you are in your day, you're consuming something. You're
Yep.
on your phone, you're listening to somebody say something. Even when you're alone, there could be a banner somewhere with an advertisement. You're consuming.
Yep.
In all ways, and it's just like, people don't realize how much power they have to, I don't like this culture, but cancel culture.
Yeah.
Like, if you're doing it to people. Some people obviously deserve it. They do terrible things, and they need to get what they deserve. But like, if you focus even half of the cancel culture energy on things like reform, um, like just seeing companies stand by their words and follow
Yeah.
through with actions that show that, if you put an ounce of that effort into actually investigating into where these dollars are ending up and whose pockets do they go into and who they support and what are you are seeing versus what they're doing actually, that and a lot of real change would happen instead of somebody not being able to post on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, there's I think that's another one of those things where it's like I wish they got the branding right before they dubbed something cancel culture, like, because I feel cancel culture is cancel culture just sounds stupid, and they do a lot of stupid things, and there's things that I don't even know how to go into that, but I think there should be an accountability culture, and it's like people want to cancel people for saying something inappropriate. Teach them the appropriate way to say it, and then if they still are choosing to say it the wrong way, then hold them accountable by boycotting their business or whatever. But it's like people are just so quick to jump the gun on things, and you're right. I think it just should be used for a higher purpose rather than this person did something that I don't like. But I think the bigger issue that it really all boils down to is just the amount of corporate money that's in politics, and that's where my biggest frustration lies. And people want the big rift between left and right now, but really the bigger issue should be between the going back to how it used to be with the Occupy Wall Street thing. It's like the 99% versus the 1%, because the 1% control everything. That's where the bigger gap is to me.
Yeah. And I would, you see those memes of like, oh, Jeff Bezos is worth this much money and his tax will, it's $5 billion to us, but that's a penny to Jeff Bezos, and that's like, also when it comes to like conservative stuff, it's like, okay, of course I don't want my gas price to go up, but the wealth tax probably isn't affecting most conservatives.
Yeah.
And it's about reading fine print, and it's about knowing wealth, you think wealth, oh, you think my wealth, oh no, not my wealth, that's for me, that's my money and I want it now, like JG Wentworth style. So but a lot of people won't make that, won't come close to that. So yeah, if you have to take a little bit, or you got to take a little bit of money from the people who make the most money to help a homeless guy get some socks, I take that every day of the week.
And that's going back to even what we were talking about before with being able to see things through other people's point of view. It's like, if I were one of the people that was impacted by a wealth tax, I'd say, good, use it for good. Use it for good. And I want to help people. And if taxation is the best way to do it, then go ahead and tax me.
Yeah. I saw one thing. I think J. Cole said it in some interview, but I don't follow J. Cole super closely. Him and I are super tight. But he was like, when you get taxed, your tax dollars, you should be able to, how you claim things and you elect things, you should be able to elect where you want your tax dollars to go, and then through natural selection, things will be weighed down. And obviously everybody's going to pick something different. A lot of people are going to pick the same stuff, but a lot of people will pick certain things that not everybody else does. So things will get funded proportionally.
I actually prior to the election, I was looking into a bunch of things, and I was like, man, what would I do if I was running? And I was like, what did I call it? But one of the things that I was looking into to see if anyone does this anywhere is like electable taxation. Similar to like if you work for a company and you get to enroll in benefits, right? You say, okay, I want my health insurance, I want my short-term disability, blah, 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 all this other stuff. So if I can elect, and again, this is disclaimer, I'm not a tax expert, nor have I really thought this all the way through, but I can elect for my tax dollars. Like I can opt in for public schools. I can opt in for public health care. I can opt in for all these other things, and then I can reap the benefits of those things. So if Will wants to go to public school, he gets to go to public school, versus somebody that didn't opt into public school, you have to pay then the entire fee, the entire cost, the teacher salaries, all that, prorated. It's like, because I think that's people's biggest issue is they look at this like, oh, I'm paying for people to live on welfare. Like, you never know when you're going to need welfare. So if you don't want to pay into it, then you should never be able to reap the benefits of it. So I don't know. That's something that I think would make people feel a lot more comfortable, but I don't know that the funding would be there then for a lot of things. So I don't know.
Well, that's where the things you would see is like things. That's how, you tell by your people who wants what.
Yeah.
Where do your citizens feel like their dollars should be going, and where they shouldn't be going, you either find ways to loop them in with other things to make it more feasible.
Yeah.
Or you just cut it. Like, hey, maybe that's not where it's at. Maybe that's we don't need to allocate dollars there.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you were to look at it, and again, I don't have any hard facts or figures on things, but it's like the amount of our tax dollars that go towards the defense budget, which I did know at one point, but and then the next closest like international power is like 2% of what we spend on our defense budget. It's like, what are we defending here? I don't understand what it is we're doing.
Well, that's also what we do as a culture. We feed fear.
Yeah.
To everybody, and if everybody's afraid of what's outside of America or outside of where our allies are, of course we're going to be like, oh yeah, we need a couple billies for this new tank over here. It
no biggie.
Needs some bigger rims, so we're going to put this thing on 40s and hope you didn't want your 2%.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's going to look cool when we go run over some people, so thanks. The rim spin and shiny, got some cool camo on it.
Gotta have them.
You gotta have them, and that's like a lot of we fear monger so much. Like, obviously the world's not perfect, and there are just bad people out there who do bad things and want to do bad things. But if we started, teaching people like, hey, not the amount of bad people there are in the world pales in comparison to the amount of good people there are in the world. And that's like, people don't want to talk to people because everybody thinks everybody's out to get them. Everybody's mad at you. You say something, and if you say something that's not in agreement, they're going to either hurt you or find a way to hurt you in other ways that aren't physical. And you pin people against people. If it's not it goes from, city to city, state to state, are you red or blue state? Who'd you vote for? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I don't like that country. Don't let those people come here because they're from that country. How about a wall? How about actually a couple more missiles so we can shoot them farther because we don't like that country and it's pretty far away. So if we spend some more money, we can shoot them farther.
Yeah, it's crazy how much we, like, when you said red state and blue state, and like people identify like, oh, I'm a blue person in a red state, or red person in a blue state. It's like, that's the best we have to say what we are or who we are. Like, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane.
And a lot of what I got out of this election is that a lot of people are in the center, and and everything just burning around them.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, I would say that the majority of people are in the center, and then you've got 10% people that are super left and 10% of the people that are super right, and those 20% of the people are the loudest people. So it's like, what are we doing in the middle? And it's like, oh, I have to be on this side or that side, and the majority of the people are just getting overlooked.
Yeah. You're like, okay, you had a good point, and okay, you had a good point, but I can't like you
Yeah.
because you're Satan. And then
Yes.
you're just like, well, but he had a point.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Something's got to change.
Like before, if you're okay getting into this, like before the pandemic, you and I had gotten into it on gun control and
Hmm.
how guns are seen in America and all that. And then, you know, during the pandemic, we had talked about, or at least you brought up to me the idea of getting a self-defense weapon, and that it changed with the riots and all of that, and the it really changed your mind a little bit on what you want or what you thought of beforehand.
Well, I don't know that that changed my mind so much. Maybe it changed how I personally would approach it, because um, the truth is you just don't know what other people are doing. And not to go back to the point where you said we all were taught to think that everyone's out to get you,
Mm,
but it did. Going even back further in the conversation, beginning of the pandemic, it almost did feel like an end of the world situation where you just didn't know how things were going to turn out. Um, but I think my overall thoughts on that whole thing can kind of be summed up with how again, the tragedy in Atlanta went down. Was that dude went and bought a gun the same day, less than 24 hours before he went and took 8 people's lives, same day. And you can't register to vote and vote on the same day in Georgia. It's like, what are we really valuing here?
mhm.
And I mean, as a citizen, I just want to know that, and I'm for people having, have your weapons, do whatever you're going to do. People love their guns more than their families, and that's fine. But um, I just want to know that people are vetted. Like, I
Yeah.
want to know that you're not an insane person. I
Mhm.
want to know that you don't have any, felonies. I want to know that you've never beat your wife, because I don't know what that translates to when you have a gun in your hand. But again, I mean, I'm for the Second Amendment. I wouldn't. It would never work in America if people went door to door and said, "Okay, you got to turn it in." Like, that just would never, ever, ever work. And I just think we need to find, to use a buzzword, common sense gun laws, because it really is common sense. Like, if I want a gun, I should be in a right state of mind, to the point where it's like, okay, I need a gun, but I don't need it right now. I'm not going
Yeah.
hunting today. I don't need it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm okay with waiting 5 days while you run a background check, whatever.
Like,
It just doesn't make sense.
yeah, I'm in agreement with you on all the points you said, like the vetting of, who gets the gun and all that, and even certain types of guns. Like, I don't
Hmm.
think assault rifles should be a thing. I feel
Yep.
like, okay, if you're hunting to go get food, or if you are gonna use those types of those, if you're gonna own those weapons, sure, you can own them and they can be yours, but keep, if you're gonna go out and shoot or something,
Hmm.
keep them in a locker, and they're at a range, and you get your locker at your range that you
Yeah.
go to, and if you want them somewhere else, you have to ship them from one range to the other. If you're like, just, there's so many things that we can do better for like safety, and obviously there's always the criminals are going to do criminal things. So
Yeah.
if you think your gun laws are going to, and
Yeah.
that's the same preach of like, okay, no matter what I have, someone's going to have something better, or like have a gun better than mine. So I'm going to buy the fastest, the biggest gun.
Yeah.
So when I see the guy down the street who always has the nicer car than me, and he decides he wants a better gun, not today. I
That's a man. I don't know what it is in this country, but especially up here in northern Michigan, it's like people just think that they're tough because they have a gun. It's like, I can go buy one right now too. But people just think that they have the right to do whatever they want because there's a constant threat that they could kill you.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. But then just think about like what other countries have done. And every time we have a mass shooting, I don't know if you're familiar with The Onion, like the satirical news site, and
Yeah.
they post like whatever. But it's like every time there's a mass shooting, they post the same article, and it's like, there's no way to stop this, says the one country in the world where these things continue to happen. And it's so true. Like, why are people so opposed to just trying something? Because I hate it. I mean, it's awful to think that, okay, what's going to be on the news this week? Or like, people don't even watch the news. I don't like to watch the news on TV because there's something terrible that happened somewhere. We
Yeah.
need to do something.
Yeah. And that's another, you know, you think about it, like, I don't think humans were meant to have news like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're meant to know what happens in your state
Yeah.
or something. I'm not saying obviously it's great that we can know what happens across the world, but mentally for our minds and for our mental health, I don't think humans were ever supposed to have, because that's another thing. Like, if you're gonna see what people want you to see, and if people are serving up terror and hate,
Mm-hmm.
disgust on Wednesday, then you're gonna get a plate full of terror, hate, and disgust for Wednesday's dinner at 5
Yeah.
o'clock.
Well, it's just fuel to the fire, because it just normalizes all these things, and it's like, oh, school shooting, oh, mass murder,
Yeah.
oh, racially charged killing, whatever. So it's like, it just normalizes all these things. Like, well, that's America, but we have to. You don't even have enough time to think about the last situation before the next one happens, and I just nobody's really doing anything to fix it.
Yeah, that's the first time I ever saw. So I know people that conceal carry, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I saw the first time I ever saw an open carry was in Michigan, was in Traverse City.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was a fest. It was like, wasn't 4th of July or something, but we came up for the week. Maybe it was Labor Day or something. But
Oh,
people were like, it was during COVID, this last 2020. So it was during that, but people were like wearing masks and stuff, and people were like, it was good
yeah.
weather, so everybody was happy to be outside. It was like the first like really good weather, like 70-degree weather weekend. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody was like at the stops, and they had people eating outside before all the like super hard restrictions came. And
Yeah.
there's the first guy, you know, cowboy boots, big, you know, big pair of denim jeans with the boot cut flapping around, literally, and it looked like he had a Smith and Wesson revolver from
Yeah.
back in
It's
the.
like, really, what is your point? What are you just trying to tell me, that you can kill me, or are you trying to say that you're going to save the day if something goes down? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
And it's
Don't
like
get
another,
it.
it's like virtue signaling, but the other
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Because they're also obsessed with their phrase, all it takes is one good guy with a gun. Like, how many times have there been those situations and it doesn't work out?
Yeah, yeah. Or what are you gonna do? Walk 10 paces and turn around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to challenge each other to a duel here. What do we got going on?
Bet you my plastic fork hurts you.
Yeah.
It's
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 just,
it's crazy because it's like, on one point, yeah, if everybody has a gun, then everybody has a gun, then we can all shoot each other. But if only, a couple people have guns, and they're people that are trusted, and
mm-hmm.
the one guy that doesn't have a gun, or that's not supposed to have one, has one, and it's just how you look at it.
Yeah. And then there's the whole debate of, some people who have never read the Constitution, they live by the Second Amendment. But then there's the debate of, well, what did the founding fathers actually intend for the Second Amendment? It's like, they didn't know that there were going to be assault rifles and all this other junk. And they're like, nope, it's right there, plain as day. We're allowed to have as many guns, all we want. So it's like, how do you interpret what was intended there? But at the same time, it's like, we're a nation run by adults too. Like, can't we make our own decision rather than try and figure out what these people in 1781 were trying to tell us?
Yeah. Also, I'm seeing a weird tendency now from conservatives that I have on like social media. So I try to keep like a well balanced hatred circle, people that just hate each other both ways.
That's important.
So I really just try to, I don't want too much hate coming from this side of the group. So sometimes I just turn it up on the other side and say, hey, what's up, guys? How we feeling about other people?
How we hating today?
How much hate do we have for those guys today?
Hopefully a lot.
I'm here for it. So
Yeah.
so I'm in, there's this little conservative circle that I'm seeing now, is that they're turning against the Constitution because it's not Constitution enough. We need more Constitution. We need more.
Light it up.
We
Yeah.
need a couple more. Put some more better rules. Actually, let's get rid of all the rules.
Yeah.
People with the guns can, rule.
Yeah. Start off with the Second Amendment because it's the most important, not the first one, that freedom of speech or anything, whatever.
You don't want them to talk.
No, get rid of that one. Nix it. Just go with number 2, and then expand on that.
Number 2.
Start there.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Number 2 would turn the volume up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Call it 22.
20. We got 2 of them. Yeah, but it's just like, now if the Constitution was what you were holding on to, but now you're like, it's not good enough.
Yeah, it just goes back to people just want what they want and are not willing to compromise on things, and so they think they find something that, it's right here, it says it right here, but we just need to cross out all these other words and just focus really on the Declaration of Independence.
I'm gonna steal it. That speaks to a whole bigger thing. Like, people do that with religious texts and all. Like, when you only see life how you want to see it, you're not, like, that's not the right way. And it's just closed-mindedness and all that other stuff again.
Yeah, you can find whatever you want to find in anything, and make it mean whatever you think you want it to mean.
Yeah, and it's like one thing I've heard is that if you go looking for trouble, you're gonna find it. So people interpret things in different ways, and you can pretty much pull anything from anything.
Yep.
So it's really, at the end of the day, it's about getting that money and going to sleep.
At the end of the day, going back to an earlier conversation we had about the having a child and how that changes your life. At the end of the day, it's about accounting for the people in your house and making sure the same ones are there at the end of the day as were there at the beginning, and that nothing bad happened to them. And that's really all it's about.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you would like to talk about on the Talking podcast while you have the mic? I'm sure that since we've done this, we'll probably do a couple more. Just we can do some more, you and I, maybe episode 2022.
Yeah.
You hop back. You're on the second one, so it's fitting that we talked about the Second Amendment.
It is.
So I'll probably throw together a you and Tom, the first guest. Probably throw together a you, us three, and to a call, and get some great things out of that. Maybe some more structured, we get really, really into some political, really dive into.
The more politics we could talk, the better. It just unites. It unites the people.
It just really brings everybody together about how much we hate everybody.
Yeah. United in hate.
It's you gotta preach it.
Yeah.
Just trying to think of something.
Things and stuff related.
Definitely, this is the place to not only converse, but this is the podcast where we say stuff, but most importantly, talk about things.
That is for sure.
That was the second episode of the Talking podcast. Thanks again, Bill. Uncle Bill to me, Bill Windle to the rest of you, unless you're his nephew, of course. Yep. So that is that. I'm going to say it for a fourth time. Thanks. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been great talking to you about
Happy to be here.
what you
Thanks
do.
for having me on episode 2.
We're gonna make this great. It's gonna go after this episode. I'm sure that we're gonna get over 100 subscribers on this.
You might have J. Cole in the next episode after you dropped a reference to him today.
I'm in the works with J. Cole, that protein cereal company, and
Who else was it?
and
You did say
Constitution,
J.G. Wentworth.
and JG.
That'd be a good sponsor.
We're gonna call now. So, well, I'm just gonna end it here, and thank you everybody for listening. This has been the Talking Podcast, and y'all have a good night.